Zach, there are going to be 1,000 questions for you, but let's start with scheme. It seems like you've done some odd front stuff mainly, but can you tell us what your scheme's going to look like at West Virginia?
Yeah, we're extremely multiple, diverse, aggressive. I think the last couple of years we've been top 5 in the country in blitz percentage. Overall, I've heard it a long time, pressure breaks pipes. So we play 4 down front, 3 down front. We'll do a little bit of shifting in and out of both of those within the same series and all that, same personnel groups. And so, I always laugh because it says when I say multiply, I really mean that. It'll look different every week, and we kind of hang our hat on being really hard to prepare for.
Have personnel yet to fit what you want to do, or is that just something you got to see in the spring, adapt to it as you go? What do you think?
Yeah, I think the early on, I couldn't tell you 100% right now what we have and what we don't have. I've seen us run through bags and around hoops and things like that, but as far as actually playing football, I'm not really sure yet. We'll know a whole lot more here in about a month and a half.
Defense around your personnel, or do you build it more toward a scheme, or a little mix of both?
I definitely would say personnel based. You want to put guys in positions to win. Think players, not plays. And if a guy's really good at something, we're going to do that with him. If he's not, then we try not to do that with him. Sometimes the scheme can override, but we're always conscious of, how do we put people in positions to win?
Coach, do you have any thoughts on what it'll take? You've talked already about maybe your system and your mentality for players in the scheme, but what it'll take to have a solid defense in this particular conference in the Big 12 right now in this era. I mean, you got to have a great secondary that's been in some problem here, different parts of the team. What do you think is the big deal defensively in the conference?
Yeah, I think obviously pass rush. I know last year, obviously when I went to Oklahoma, I think they moved from the Big 12 to the SEC and saw like 400 less pass attempts or something like that in the year, which is, if you think about it, is actually like a lot per game, about 50 snaps differential. And so we know they're going to throw the ball, they're going to spread people out, and so I've always believed the edges of the defense better be secure. Your edge rushers and your corners, and if those guys are really good, you have a chance to be really good. Because it's hard to get outside of you that way. And obviously we're going to get a lot of one-on-one shots, and people are going to try and attack us, which is pretty standard nowadays, I think, in general. But we're obviously looking to build the personnel in a way that we can complement each other too. You can say, oh, well, the safety's not fast enough or can't cover, but if the quarterback can't get the ball off, it doesn't really matter.
Can you talk a little bit about kind of just leaving Oklahoma and what that process was like? Like, how are you liking Morgantown so far? Can you give a little insight into the decision, perhaps, to come to Morgantown and join Rich's staff again?
Yeah, I mean, I've loved the city. So far it's been great. Found a house that's nice, not too far from here, 5 minutes or so. So convenient and a good place to be. The people have been amazing ever since we got here. Everyone I've met, been around, they've been have been just tremendous. Whether it's within the program or within the community, those type of things. I've really enjoyed it. Obviously I have a history with Coach Rodriguez between Monroe when I was the defense coordinator, he was the offense coordinator, and when he took me to Jacksonville State with him afterward, and we had some success there for 2 years, and I love him. I love him to death. I love working for him. I appreciate how he treats us and treats our players, and we're demanding, but we love our guys even harder. And we say all the time, man, you'll work harder here than anywhere else in the country, but you'll be treated better here anywhere else in the country.
I asked Rich this. Do you look at guys that fit what you want to do, or do you have to also look at what the teams we're playing do and kind of fit that and match that with the style of play in the league?
A little bit of both. I mean, I know that's easy to say each one of those, but week in and week out, you're gonna have different challenges. Maybe they have a great X receiver, so you want to have a plan to cover him. Well, maybe you move your best cover guy over there to cover him that game. Well, maybe the next game it's a slot. Well, okay, how do you put someone in position to cover him well? So maybe they have a great tailback that you want to not let him run the ball up inside. So you play different fronts and ways to bounce the ball. So I think it depends on, every team's a little bit different and what their strengths are. And you're obviously going to try and take away those things week in and week out. And so the structure of the scheme, as well as the people and where they are in the scheme, can change week in and week out based on what we're seeing that week and what the stresses are for the defense.
So the more answers, the better.
Yeah.
When you're looking at a defensive player, regardless of position, what are the three qualities that make a defensive player in your mind?
Usually long, fast, and physical. That usually works out pretty well, no matter where you play them. Big guys usually beat up little guys, and fast guys usually outrun slow guys.
Can you talk a little bit about just kind of this defense last year, for better or for worse, was not among the best in the Big 12 or even the country, a lot of towards the lower part of the category statistically. Can you talk a little bit about what it takes just to rebuild a defense from scratch like that when you're coming in with new players, new staff, everything?
Yeah, it's a process. It takes time. There's no doubt about that. The level of understanding of both football and our scheme is not there. It's not like you're going to a fourth year where everybody's been around you for a while. They know how you coach. They know the language, those type of things. They're all learning that with us at the same time. And it's overwhelming to start, but you see the incremental process day in and day out to hopefully have an opportunity to get to be an elite defense. By the time we get to the season, and that's the reality. Heck, we hadn't had a practice yet, so we got a long way to go, no doubt about that. I think our guys know that. They accept that challenge, and they're good with that. I know that the demand, the work it takes to be great. I've been fortunate. I think I've been a part of 2 number 1 defenses in the country. I think over 10, top 20 defenses in the nation, and so I've seen what it looks like to get guys to that level. What the expectation is, the work ethic, the day-to-day football intelligence, those type of things, the preparation it takes, and hopefully we're showing them that now, and we're on our way to, create that same environment here.
Just a quick follow-up on that. You talk about some of the top defenses you've been a part of, and I assume some of those you're talking about those days in Clemson and your beginning of your career. What do you and Coach Warwick and Coach Weinreich specifically, coming from coaching under Coach Venables, and having experience with the way he built that culture at Clemson on defense and in Oklahoma as a coach, what do you bring to the program that you think adds to the locker room and to the coaching staff?
Yeah, I think a mentality would probably be the number one thing. The standard of performance that we set for our players is incredibly high. Coach Venables is amazing at that. That's what he did at Clemson, did that at Oklahoma too. It's something that I've always wanted to say about myself, something I've aspired to personally as well, that, man, no one coaches harder, nobody does more, nobody strains and stresses our guys to be great more than we do. And so obviously having people around me that have been a part of, those type of defenses, those type of players, and that mentality only helps to have a congruent and consistent message. And they're not the only ones. I've worked with a lot of the staff here on defense that has been around my mindset and how we do things. And so feel very fortunate to have great coaches around us like those guys.
Going back to what I asked earlier, you mentioned 3 physical things. What mental aspects of a player do you look for?
Yeah, and I think Michael Jordan said talent wins games, talent plus intelligence wins championships. And so we always want to find the guys that can learn football, that they understand the game. The game is slower for them with that type of depth and knowledge. And, it's our job on the flip side to teach them that. Always think everybody comes from a different situation, whether they're a high school kid that is coming in as a freshman right now and is swimming sideways upstream, or if it's a transfer guy that's been, come in this winter, or it's a guy that's returning. We're always trying to elevate that kind of intelligence level of anybody we find. And some guys, they come by it naturally. They were really well coached where they were before. They have an understanding. Maybe they love Madden. I don't know. But they have a really good understanding baseline, and some guys don't. And so our job is to find our best players with the physical attributes and teach them the game, or help them find a way to perform at an elite level intelligently as well.
Zach, so back to scheme-wise a little bit. 3 safeties, one sort of a hybrid guy. How do you employ the back end?
Yeah, week in and week out, it changes. You go watch us, and you'll probably see that if you watched us play before. There are certain weeks we play with true 3 safeties. Sometimes we play with 3 safeties and a nickel. Sometimes we play with a nickel and 2 safeties. Sometimes we play with 2 safeties and 3 linebackers. So it just depends on the challenge of the week in and week out, as to what we're going to do. And I've always believed that's harder on offenses, because they don't know, what they're going to have to prepare for that week.
I know, and I asked Coach Rod this, and he doesn't like to highlight specific coaches or players too much, it seems, just to not leave anyone out. Is there anyone you do want to highlight that you feel like on the coaching staff or players that have really shined or made a big impact in winter workouts?
Yeah, I think, overall I've been very impressed with just the commitment the guys have. We're not where we want to be. I think they know that, but we're on our way there. You can see a vision for what this team can be, what we're capable of, and we're learning how to go about getting to that spot. So I've been, generally, I've been very impressed with our guys as far as their commitment. I think I walked in there a minute ago, and there were 15 defensive players in there watching film. And I went and corrected something on my way over here. Mike was mad at me because I got to stop in here real quick. So I'm happy with the buy-in that we've seen from a lot of our guys, and hopefully that continues.
What about versatility and cross-training? Are you big on that, or do you want guys in specific spots?
I think it depends on the kid. A lot of times certain players, it's easy for them. And we want to help those guys learn multiple positions. Other guys, hey, you're a true freshman. You just got here, man. Just learn will. It's hard enough. And so I think it depends on each one. But, my goal would be, after being in the system for 3 or 4 years, that most of our players can play multiple positions.
Zach, the linebackers, I guess maybe you have to reprogram some of us too, but bandit, spear, spur, those are all different names and labels for every coach. Like, what do you have, what do you use? And then to your position, I'm sure you think linebackers are most important, like the fulcrum, right? How do you use them week to week, maybe series to series, to kind of develop or strengthen that versatility you're talking about?
Yeah, we play with like a nickel, Sam, Mike, and Will. That bandit's kind of our outside linebacker, defensive end in the boundary. Play with 3 true D linemen most of the time, and then we'll play with 2 safeties and 2 corners, sometimes 3 safeties. So a couple different spots there across the board, but I challenge our backers more than anybody else. I tell them up front when I recruit them that the standard for you will be higher than everyone else in the program because of who you are. I've never been on a great team that didn't have great play at linebacker, both as a player on the field and as a leader in the locker room. There's a high demand on those guys to perform that way all the time, and so I want those players, series in and series out, to be able to control what's going on the field. If the D lineman's not lined up right, you fix them. The safety doesn't have the check, you get him the check. That's your job. You're the commander of the defense. And so I always want them thinking in ways, man, how do I not only play well myself, but how do I improve the play of the guys around me? How do I multiply their ability to be successful as well?
Can you talk just a little bit about, and I asked Coach Rob this one too, as a whole with the program, but just for you defensively in particular, how do you instill your defensive culture into this program over the winter and the spring coming in here?
Yeah, I think we demand it every day. I think they can feel the strain, the stress. What I talk about, what I preach about, I guess, with them is the truth. That helps. I know we tell all the time, man, I'm going to tell my guys the truth. And when you do that, they have an expectation level set. And if they don't meet that expectation level, then, there's an issue. And I think that's the key. We're always talking about, trying to play to a standard. Every single day we play to a standard. Every workout we perform to a standard. When we take the field, there's a standard of how we operate when we're practicing that it's going to translate to the standard we play with on game day. And nothing short of that standard is ever acceptable. And so our guys know that that's the mindset we're going to have, and every single day we're trying to build them up into that mold and that model. And our guys, I want them to believe at the end of the day. I want to create belief in who we are. who the program is, that we can win, that we can outwork people, we can outthink people, we can out-execute people, and that comes from the work. The confidence and the belief comes from the work. And when you think the right way, ultimately that'll become who you are. And so every single day we're working on our mindset and trying to create that kind of culture on this side of the ball.
Zach, most important things for you to get out of the spring?
Yeah, I'd say that learning the defense probably number one. From my side, learning my players. Who's good at what they do well. How do we put them in positions to win, to be successful the most. And I'd say just understanding how we're going to compete as a team. We're definitely not there yet. They've got to figure out, our standards and how we do things, and I got to figure out who can meet those standards and perform at that level all the time. And so the spring will be a challenge. It will be hard, and it should be, because we want to find the guys that are committed to that process, that want to be a part of something special.
Do you need to know who your 11 are at the end of spring, or can it carry on into the summer?
Oh, shoot, I'll let you know probably that Friday night before we play on Saturday who the starting 11 are. So they got a lot of time between now and whatever that date is we kick off the season.
Are there specific positions, though, that you can add late that you can step right in, kind of plug and play?
Nowadays, I feel like it's every position. You kind of have to. I love our guys, but the reality is, the whole room could walk up and leave tomorrow if they want to, and that's the day and age we live in. So, we try and make things really simple for our guys so they can learn it and pick it up fast. So there's no more waiting around. There's no more, hey, well, let's bring a guy in, and in 3 years he'll be a great player. You got to get him ready to play now, and so we kind of base everything off that.
Why ask that? Because if you take Indiana, for example, they went to the playoffs and they got a good part of their roster after spring. That in this day and age, you can do that.
Absolutely. I think that's something we'll assess at the end of spring with what we have now, and then what we can get out of the portal as well.
I know it's early in the spring, obviously, and Coach talked about, pretty much everything could be up for grabs in the defense, but are there any positions or any facets of the defense that in your mind you're already thinking, to be a legit first-year playoff team like John's talking about, we're probably going to need to dip in the portal and get more of this position that you already know about now?
I really don't right this second. Once again, I've watched guys like run around hoops and cones. I hadn't watched them hit each other. So I'll have a much better feel for that probably later on after we've had some practices.
One other question, the philosophy on tackling. Today, the contact and so forth, the last staff didn't really do a lot of tackling. What is your position on that, and just the basic skills of football that you have to do today, while balancing it with, taking care of guys?
Well, I think on our side of the ball, the game's won and lost in transition, and that's what we work on every day, the movements and the things you have to do to be successful. And then, tackling is the next biggest and most important thing. We train it in very specific ways as far as when we have, no pads on. We're working on it right now. We've got some new equipment and things in that you can hit when you don't have pads. So working, through that, I did the drill with the backers today. As far as some of that, that's something that's fundamental to who we're going to be. We want to be really safe in how we do and approach the game as far as tackling, but there's nothing soft about safe. You can be physical and attack people, do it in the right ways, and so I don't worry about that a whole lot. I think it'll come just based on who we are.
Specifics on the way that you teach. Film of your past defenses on the board, papers, quizzes, reps on the field. How does all that fit together for you?
All the above. I think that just like a great teacher has to know that their students don't learn all the same way. Some guys they need walkthroughs. Some guys can watch it one time and do it. Some guys can remember something you told them 5 years ago, and the other guy can't remember what you said 30 seconds ago. So a little bit of everything, board work. I have like what I call football school. They do homework and stuff on their own too when I'm not around, and most of them, they enjoy that. They want to learn the game. We'll do film study. We'll do on-field walkthroughs. We'll do practice. We'll do everything we can to try and help every single individual learn the best way they can to pick everything up.
Coach, is the role as associate head coach an adjustment for you in the sense that the head coach is essentially offensive coordinator too, and probably always been an offensive coordinator at the schools you've been at. I mean, are there adjustments in that added role of associate head coach?
You know, I've always appreciated Coach Rodriguez because I think he's always prepared me to be a head coach one day. I think he has that same kind of mindset and goal for me as well as I do for myself. You know, and for me, the title was great, but I've been doing a lot of that for a while. You know, and I just want to help him in any way I can. If I can take something off the plate, you know, whatever that looks like, maybe he just don't want to do it, and I can go do it for him. You know, I'm always looking for that because, you know, that's how I believe you bring value for yourself. You learn, you know, you grow. If you're not constantly challenged, then you stay the same. And so it's something I really appreciate about Coach Rod is just his consistent, you know, efforts to try and help me grow and develop as a coach as well.
Zach, the timeline for you at Clemson, did you leave before Terry Bowden was there, or how long did you guys overlap?
I'd never met Coach Bowden until I got to ULM, so I didn't overlap at all.
You must have left like some impression because he hired you based on what he'd heard from other people, I guess, too. Did you, I mean, everyone's looking for a break. Did you think a 64-year-old graduate assistant at Clemson would kind of help you get moving like the way he did?
Well, I didn't know that he was even at Clemson actually when he called me until he told me. You know, I knew Coach Bowden's name from you know, the lore of college football over the years, and he'd had some great teams, a bunch of places he'd been. And when he called me, I had a goal. I wanted to be a defensive coordinator in college football, and you know, when he offered me the job, it was something I felt like I had to do. And you know, God works in mysterious ways. I appreciate how He's guided my life, gotten to me where I am now. But you know, if Coach Bowden doesn't go GA at Clemson and then take the job down there, then I don't meet Coach Rodriguez, and I'm not sitting here in front of you guys. So I'm certainly blessed and was very thankful that he gave me that opportunity.
Okay, we have time for one more question. Ryan Decker.
Your philosophy of being so multiple in defense, where does that come from? Is that something you were taught as a young coach? Is that just something that you liked, I guess, growing up around football and kind of grew upon yourself?
Yeah, I think you know, something that Coach Venables and when I was at Clemson, we really were that same style, I guess you would say, that very diverse, very multiple, trying to attack people's weaknesses. And that's something that I learned the game that way. That's how I know how to play the game defensively. I believe in it wholeheartedly, you know, and it's worked over time. You know, there's been more consistency in this system than there has, you know, any other in the past 20 years. And so wanting to be that same way, that's what I know and what I believe wins.
Okay, thank you very much, Coach.
Thanks, guys.